People have been shot. We understand that 2 people have been taken into custody. We do not know if they might be involved in the shooting itself. This is a developing situation as we speak. Now, that parade began on Grand Avenue, the Grand Boulevard there in downtown Kansas City, and it went to Union Station. That's a very iconic spot there in downtown Kansas City. It's an old train station that's been turned into a tourist spot, I guess you could say. So many restaurants there, different types of businesses in there. It is like just an iconic part of downtown Kansas City. So again, this is developing as we speak. Our sister station, KCTV in Kansas City, has been on the air covering every detail and update. So we want to tap into their extensive coverage right now and listen into what's happening. Let's go to KCTV right now.
Shortly after the shooting happened. So we want to clarify. There has not been an additional shooting. There has not been an additional chaotic situation. We aired in airing video that Neil was recording when the initial shooting happened.
But that shows you
the chaos
that happened at the moment. That rally was wrapping up. Neil Jones right down there, right by the stage, and it was just a few minutes before 2 o'clock this afternoon as the rally was ending that the chaos broke out, and Neil Jones was trying to get to us to tell us that something is definitely wrong. That happened more than an hour ago.
Whoever's in the booth.
What you are seeing here now is live still as the giant police presence still has descended along Grand, along Main Street downtown, and around Pershing there around Union Station.
Running again, and we saw police officers and FBI running west on Pershing toward another situation.
All right, that's
they're working through.
Jillian, if you can hear us, go ahead and tell us what you're seeing from your vantage point and what's happening around you.
Guys, moments ago, Shane and I were on Pershing walking west, and we saw multiple law enforcement officers running westbound on Pershing. We did not hear sounds, and I'm going to go over to Brad and Carolina for the rest of that report. Bill and Carolina,
guys,
sorry.
We've got guns drawn. Yeah, we've got guns drawn.
There's guns drawn by several police officers and what looks to be SWAT officers with long guns behind a police cruiser on the west side of the Weston parking lot. A couple of other police cruisers are starting to move in, but again, just in the last few moments, over 24 probably police officers came in. Again, long guns, also sidearms drawn towards what looked to be, I can't see because the carport goes over where it kind of obstructs our view, but again, a lot of attention being paid over to just in front of the Weston Crown Center parking lot, just of Union Station. And again, we can see several police.
Oh, we're just now losing contact somehow with Bill and Carolina. Can you guys still hear us? Oh, we lost their audio signal anyway, but you can see even just from looking at this scene how widespread this potential crime scene will be or already is as they're drawing around the crime tape. This is going to take a while to figure out exactly who was where when.
Right, and to say that this is a chaotic situation doesn't even begin to describe what's happening here. It's mass chaos. So many people who tried to get out of a relatively small area, thousands and thousands of people, multiple gunshots, and there is so much going on right now that we're trying to stay on top of this for you and report this as accurately as we can. Bill and Carolina, before we lost their audio, were saying that they had seen officers with guns drawn.
And that's what you're seeing here out in front of the Weston here.
We don't know why, but to Carolyn's point, that's what you're looking at right now. You can see officers who have gathered out there near Union Station. Okay, we have Jillian and Shane now back. Guys, if you can hear me, anything that you're seeing from your location?
Yeah, Brad, as mentioned, we are on Pershing and Broadway, so west of Union Station, the opposite direction of Crown Center. So we saw police officers running west toward another situation. We did not hear any sounds, but we saw multiple law enforcement officers running west on Broadway, on Pershing toward Broadway.
Yes, and they were definitely in a hurry, and it looks like they're actually cordoning this area off from us as well right now. We do see police vehicles in the distance. I don't know if you can see our shot right now, but they were running that direction, which I believe is a different area than what Bill and Carolina were describing.
Okay, and thank you, and break in at any moment if anything happens from your vantage point. Just go ahead and take it away from us. Greg Daly of KCTV5 News has just reported that he says our KCTV5 crews at Crown Center are now being told to leave the area. He says, please be safe if you or someone you know is nearby. So we continue to hear reports about police activating and moving to different locations in this area. We'll continue to stay on air with you and for you to report to you what has happened after the Chiefs championship parade. Here we see another ambulance either departing or arriving to the area. But an unreal situation today, and it goes to show you this is why city officials, this is why county officials gather and spend so much time planning these parades to try and consider every possible scenario, every worst possible scenario, and that's why they had up to 900 officers on site there to try and keep people safe.
Yeah, and we are getting confirmation now. As I mentioned, Children's Mercy Hospital has confirmed that they have received some patients. The number is not determined, but University Health also confirming that they have got patients as well. We're going to go to Janae Hancock now. Janae, where are you?
Yeah, we just received update from Westin Hotel. Apparently, we are all sheltering in place right now. What you're taking a look at right now is the Kansas City Police Department. They have their guns drawn, and it looks like they are waiting for someone to leave the parking garage. And they're actually on both sides of the parking garage. A lot of police officers were running in this direction that you're looking at right now, and that's why we kind of moved towards this area. So we're waiting to see who they are waiting for. We also see a lot of the ambulance making their way to this area as well. We've seen several people on stretchers also. So right now we are just waiting for more details, but that is the latest information coming in, that Westin Hotel is officially sheltering in place. No one can leave as we wait for more details from the Kansas City Police Department as to why they have their guns drawn. Not sure if anyone, maybe a shooter, the shooter, is inside of the hotel, or if they know of anyone else that is inside of the hotel as well. So we are just waiting for more details. But as I continue to look around towards Union Station, Matt, if we can kind of pan towards this area, still taking a look at that tragic scene. So again, this area was filled with so many fans and families that were excited to be here. And just an hour ago, maybe not even under an hour. And as you can see here, people left their belongings just sitting on the ground. You can see a tent that looks like a child's tent. Matt, I don't know if you can kind of zoom into that, but they just left their belongings sitting here as a lot of people scattered as those gunshots rang out. And Scott Reese and I were kind of standing to the side of this patio earlier, and we heard those gunshots ring out earlier. And I do want to, Matt, if we can kind of pan over, you can see more ambulance coming in from this side of the Westin Hotel. Again, it looks like they might be making their way to this area where the Kansas City Police Department, they still have their guns drawn out, could be waiting for someone to come out of this parking garage. So again, just a tragic scene that we are seeing here, guys. People are slowly starting to make their way back to this area. Here's another car that is coming out of this parking garage as well. So it looks like they are letting people leave. Let's see if they'll let this guy get out.
Okay, that's Janae Hancock reporting for us live on scene.
So again, we are still waiting for more details to come in. But for now, I'm going to send it back to you, Carolyn and Brad in studio.
Yeah, Janae was waiting there to see if indeed cars are able to leave that Westin Crown Center parking garage. It looks like at least a couple have been able.
All right, we've been listening there to live reports from KCTV in Kansas City. And if you're just joining us and you're not aware of this situation, just to let you know that the Kansas City Chiefs are holding that victory parade today in downtown Kansas City. It began around 11 o'clock this morning, their time. That would have been around noon our time. The party, the parade, the festivities were wrapping up just before 2 o'clock this afternoon, 3 o'clock our time, and shots broke out in that area there. Now, we understand that several people, multiple people, maybe as many as 8 to 10 people have been wounded in some fashion or another. We do not know the extent of their injuries. We do know, according to that report you saw there on KCTV, that people had been taken to 2 different hospitals there. There are several hospitals in the Kansas City area there, but several people have been taken to at least 2 hospitals in that area there. Again, we do not know the extent of their conditions. We're waiting to get more word on that. As you could hear those reporters describing, it was a very chaotic situation there. KCTV was there at the scene. They were live on television when all this broke out, and it became very chaotic, simply because there were so many people there. One estimate had at least about 1 million people there for the celebration. Now, that may have probably been people who were along the parade route, which was rather extensive. If you're familiar at all with Kansas City and how that area is there, the parade began on Grand Boulevard. It came back down. It ended there at the Union Station area. That Union Station is a very iconic part of Kansas City. It's an old train station that's been refurbished. There are businesses in there. There are shops in there, tourist attractions in there, restaurants in there. It is a very grand place, refurbished old train station there. Well, what happened was this broke out just before 2 o'clock their time as the festivities were closing. We do not know whether the Kansas City Chiefs players were still there on site when all this shooting broke out. People were told to evacuate the area, particularly the parking garage there for Union Station. Now, we do know, according to initial reports, and let me stress here, this is all very developing right now, and some of this information may change even dramatically from what we are hearing right now. But based on the information we have right now, at least 2 armed people have been detained by police. We do not know if these were the shooters. These could simply be people who were there at the site and may have had firearms concealed or whatever on them. We just don't know right now. But the initial report, this is initial reporting, and we're waiting to get more confirmation on the situation out there. But the initial reporting says that at least 2 armed people have been taken into custody by police, whether they've been arrested, whether they're just being taken into custody to be questioned one way or another. We do not know right now. And again, we do not know the extent of the injuries of the people who have been hurt there, whether they were hurt by the gunfire itself or whether they were hurt in the melee that broke out, the chaos that broke out after the shooting got underway. You can imagine that with so many people there, so tightly packed together, all celebrating, and all of a sudden shots break out, that just lends a very chaotic situation. So the information we're trying to get from there right now, it's very difficult to get simply because there's just so much going on, and it's such a widespread area there at Union Station in Kansas City. Right now, we are working to get you more information, as is KCTV, as is CBS News, working to get more information to confirm some of this information that has come in about the 2 people being taken into custody, about the number of people who have been hurt. As you can see from those live pictures we had on just a little bit earlier, a medic is on the scene, multiple ambulances, multiple police vehicles, multiple fire engines out at that site there as they work to get the situation under control out there. So much is still going on right now. So we're going to bring you some updates. We'll bring you those updates here online in just a little bit if new information comes in, as well as on air. So be sure to be with us on WBTV live at 5 o'clock here. We'll have much more information coming in then. And of course, as soon as we get new information, and we always post that to WBTV.com. So keep that in mind. Again, a very developing situation out there in Kansas City, and we'll keep you posted as more comes in. There's more breaking news right now. A person shot in West Charlotte, reportedly at a barber shop. This has been unfolding in the last hour on Little Rock Road near Tuckasegee Road. Want to take you live out at the scene there. Medic rushed one person to the hospital who was seriously hurt. Say that again, Chris. I didn't get that. Okay, we talked to people who were there. They say it happened at a barber shop. A barber shop there. We're working to find out what led to the gunfire and if police have anyone in custody. And of course, we'll alert you as soon as we get more information on that. The North Carolina Attorney General announcing he's appealing Duke Energy's rate increase. We appreciate you being with us here on this live stream, First at 4. I'm John Carter. Duke Energy's rate hikes went into effect in early January, and since then, many folks, you may be among them, have reached out to WBTV with concerns. Of course, Josh Stein, he is running for governor in North Carolina, released a statement this afternoon saying every dollar matters for North Carolina families. He writes in part, I'm asking the court to side with North Carolina's ratepayers and to reject this rate increase. Now, Duke Energy says electric rates will increase by more than 8% this year. The next 2 years will see a lower increase, nearly 4% in 2025 and 3.5% in 2026. But why do customers tell WBTV they're seeing higher rates than that? Well, we sat down with the Duke Energy and learned customers do not need to be aware of the rate increase and formatting changes. But as WBTV's Caroline Hicks shows us, it all comes down to usage. And one part of your bill may be able to clear up any confusion.
This is just a little bit out of the norm.
Min Jeng contacted WBTV about the surprise she got in her Duke Energy bill. Her bill due in January was roughly $100. Her bill due in February went up by about $70.
I called Duke Energy, and the rep that I spoke with, very nice person, and trying to explain what happened. And I think she wasn't even sure that was coming down the pike, and they had to learn on the fly what this new item was.
She's talking about the summary of rider adjustments, something Jeff Brooks with Duke Energy says are not new fees.
They're little fees that are associated with things like acquiring fuel to generate power, adding more renewable energy to the grid, energy efficiency programs, storm costs that we may have to recover. Previously, that was part of the simple bill format that we used. In January, we started breaking that out separately so that you could see kind of what part of your bill is energy consumption related, what part has to do with other aspects of serving you in the business.
He says that fee will change month to month based on consumption.
If you look at December, the temperatures were milder, and so people didn't consume as much electricity on average. So you are going to see that change, and that's one reason why we recommend if you're going to compare bills, you should always compare the current month to the previous year, same month.
He also says the rate increase they implemented plays into this.
If you're using about 1,000 kilowatt hours a month, you would see roughly about $24 increase on your bill from that.
Jeng's bill shows 737 kilowatt hours in December, compared to 1,300 in January. He says looking at this section of the bill should answer your questions.
Why weren't customers notified ahead of time that there were going to be these changes to their bills?
It only really started to elevate when we hit the high bill season, I think, and people began to say, what's going on with my bill? And that's a lesson learned for us. That's something that we can do better.
And that was WBTV's Caroline Hicks reporting. Now, Brooks said they are working on improving training with customer service representatives. He also says they're providing customers with information explaining the rate increase and the new billing format. All right, let's switch gears here. Hey, it is Valentine's Day out there. And oh, what a great night to take your sweetheart out or maybe do some grilling out because it just looks beautiful out there today. This is a live look at Uptown Charlotte, and we do expect a lot of folks going to be in Uptown this evening celebrating, going to some of those great restaurants up there. We're going to talk more about Valentine's Day in just a bit, but first I want to bring in First Alert meteorologist Rachel Coulter. And Rachel, it's really nice out there right now, but if folks are going to be out tonight celebrating, maybe want to eat outdoors, what's it going to be like for them?
It'll be a little bit cooler than where we are now, of course, especially after sunset because we have so much sunshine. We're in the 60s at this point, but later on tonight we're going to be a little bit cooler than that. Still seeing a sustained wind just around 10 miles per hour. Here's your evening forecast if you do have plans tonight, and a couple of things that you'll notice just right off the bat. 0% chance of rain. We are not needing the umbrella or the rain gear heading out the door tonight for any of those plans, but I think a light jacket would suffice, even though it's comfortable right now as the sun sets and we still have a little bit of a breeze. It'll feel cool, if not a little chilly, especially by the time we get towards about 9, 10 o'clock, and it's at that point where we're going to be dropping out of the low 50s and then up to to the upper 40s. But fortunately, it's not looking cold or blustery by any means until we get out the door tomorrow morning, and then we're going to be waking up in those low to mid 30s. So still not going to be seeing below freezing temperatures unless you're listening in from our higher elevations. That's where we're expecting to wake up in the low 30s. But the rest of us will be starting off in those mid to upper 30s, heading out the door tomorrow morning, and then we're topping out in the mid to upper 60s by tomorrow afternoon, especially in the Charlotte metro. Forecast high temperature now 66 degrees. We're likely going to stay dry tomorrow. The winds are going to be picking up a little bit. We're going to see wind gusts over 20 miles per hour over the course of the day on Thursday. More clouds on Friday, a little shower opportunity by the time we get towards this weekend. And we do have some temperature changes to talk about in terms of that weekend forecast, which John here in just a few minutes I'll be outlining for you.
All right, thanks a lot, Rachel. Well, today marks 24 years since Aisha Degree disappeared from her home near Shelby in Cleveland County. At the time, she was just 9 years old. Now, if you're new to our area, you might not be familiar with this case, but it is certainly ingrained in the memories of so many people, especially Aisha's family and the investigators who say they will never give up the search for her. There's even still a billboard alongside Highway 18 there near the spot someone reported seeing Aisha walking on Valentine's Day in 2000. Investigators say 9-year-old Aisha left her bedroom with her book bag overnight. 2 different people say they saw her walking on Highway 18 around 4 in the morning. A year and a half later, her book bag was found in Burke County with a library book from a library that she didn't check out and a T-shirt that didn't belong to her. Now, there's still a $45,000 reward for any information leading to where Aisha Degree is. If you have any information, no matter how insignificant you think it may be, please call police. And of course, we've got all this information, past stories on our website about Aisha Degree. Familiarize yourself with that if you can. Just go to WBTV.com. First at 4, we now know the name of the man who was shot and killed in southwest Charlotte. We first brought you this news yesterday at 6 o'clock as breaking news. Charlotte-Mecklenburg police say it happened early afternoon yesterday on Camden Creek Lane. And see, we've mapped it out for you here. And as you can see, that's right near South Tryon Street and Sandy Porter Road. That's where officers say they found 39-year-old Michael Burrows dead from a gunshot wound. However, CMPD says later determined this would be a homicide investigation. Now, it's still an active investigation and no suspect has been identified or charged. Anyone with information can leave an anonymous tip with Crime Stoppers. And today we're learning more about why all criminal charges were dropped against Charlotte Hornets player Miles Bridges. We first told you this yesterday live at 5 as breaking news. You'll remember Bridges was charged with violating a domestic violence protection order and child abuse. Well, court records show his ex-girlfriend accused him of throwing billiard balls at her car while their children were inside, causing damage back in October of 2022. Records show his ex-girlfriend initially said a woman at the house caused the damages, then told police it was Bridges. They say she later gave a different statement. Prosecutors say the inconsistent statements shows there's not enough evidence to move forward with the case. The Charlotte Hornets tell WBTV it has no comment on the situation. Right now, lawmakers in South Carolina want to bring back a part of the school curriculum you may remember taking part in, writing in cursive. A new bill under development could force students in Fort Mill to have to learn how to write cursive. It would mandate children in 2nd through 5th grades to receive writing lessons. 21 states, 21 states, including North Carolina, already mandate cursive writing be taught in public schools.
And there are a lot of people who grew up in my time and before who couldn't sign their names. And I think we're slipping back into a very slippery slope of people not being able to read, write, read books, and most importantly, sign their name.
South Carolina previously required cursive writing lessons, but stopped back in 2008. That Representative Rivers is hoping to bring that back. And of course, we're going to continue to follow this bill as it progresses. I don't know. What do you think? Cursive writing? Well, Campaign 2024 is coming to North Carolina tomorrow. Early voting here in the Tar Heel State for the primary election begins tomorrow, Thursday, the 15th. Early voting runs until March 2nd, nearly 3 weeks from now. There are 22 early voting sites across Mecklenburg County, and you can find the nearest location at the state's Board of Election website. You can also go to the Mecklenburg County Board of Election website. You can also still register to vote in North Carolina thanks to same-day registration, but you have to do that in person. Of Of course, primary day in North Carolina isn't far away either. That will be March 5th. And today, Republicans in the House of Representatives have one less seat than before, making their already narrow majority smaller. Democratic former Representative Tom Suozzi won last night's special election in New York, flipping the previously held Republican seat. Voters took part in a special election to decide who would replace former Congressman George Santos. You'll remember Santos was expelled from the chamber due to charges surrounding misusing his campaign funds, stealing donors' identities, and many other accusations. All right, like we told you, you ought to know this by now, but just in case you've been out of the country, you just haven't heard, today is Valentine's Day. A day to show love not only to your significant other, but to your family and your friends, and of course, your pets. That's right, your pets. In preparation for today, florists prepared nearly 2 million roses, and of course, there's also the candy, of which we have plenty in the newsroom right now for some reason, and I must have eaten half of it myself. CandyStore.com shows the most popular Valentine's Day candy by state, and for both of the Carolinas, what do you think takes the crown here? This surprised me because I love them myself, but I know a lot of people don't particularly like these. Conversation hearts. Those little, those little sugary things, and you just keep popping them all day long if you got a big box of them. I meant to get some myself, and I didn't. And you remember, what was it, a couple of years ago that they couldn't make them or something? They were out of them.
Oh my goodness, I forgot about that.
There was something where they couldn't make them, and they're back now, and you can find them all over the stores. But I was a little surprised about that. Conversation hearts. I would have thought maybe some kind of chocolate. What's your favorite Valentine candy?
Oh gosh. I don't know, I keep going to the Easter Bunny Reese's, and I know that's not Valentine's Day, but that's the only thing that comes to mind. Are there Valentine?
There are heart-shaped Reese's out there.
Those.
So you see, now I like those a lot too. I do like the chocolate, but I do like those conversation hearts. But the problem is, I just keep popping them all day long when I get them. But I've had some. I like the chocolate, the dark chocolate with the peanuts in them.
Okay.
Those little things, the Russell Stover or the. What's the really fancy, the chocolate that starts with the G? What is the name? Why can't I think of that name right now? It's just, what is that over there? Godiva.
Okay.
Godiva.
Alicia
chocolates.
Wilson, everyone.
Yeah, Alicia Wilson just off camera right here. So it's kind of crazy. Anyway, one thing that can make or break a person's Valentine's Day, though, because I know a lot of guys need to be out there, doing something for their sweetheart, maybe grilling outside. So a lot of folks are going to wonder, well, what about tonight? Am I going to be able to do that? Am I going to be able to take that nice moonlit walk along the lake or do stuff like that?
Your options are endless. It'll be a little chilly once the sun goes down. I think it'll be
good
enough.
Snuggling weather.
Yeah, grab a blanket, maybe a jacket. But we certainly don't need any winter coats or anything heading out the door tonight, or no umbrella either. We've got the dry and clear, just cool conditions on the way. It's really one of the best Valentine's Day evening forecasts you could ask for, because it is a little bit cool, but not too cool. And then by the end of the week, we're going to see temperatures even warmer than what we saw this afternoon, which is saying a lot. We're in the low to mid 60s right now. And here Thursday and Friday, we're expecting high temperatures in the mid 60s, if not mid to upper 60s. We'll just see some more cloud cover as well. By the time we get towards the weekend, we are expecting a few showers on Saturday. A lot of that's going to be moving through, though, before we even head out the door for any of those Saturday morning plans. And we could see some snow showers in our higher elevations as well. So that'll be something that we're tracking for you. But eventually, behind the cold front that's responsible for those rain chances, we're expecting some cooler conditions than what we've seen today. Again, mid 60s in some locations today. We're still in the upper 60s, or low 60s, I should say, in Charlotte with all these clear skies. It's just gorgeous outside. Once the sun goes down, you'll notice these temperatures dropping back into low to mid 50s, 7, 8 o'clock tonight. Low 50s by 10 o'clock. If you know that you're going to be out and about around 11, at that point you can see the going trend. It's going to get cooler. Upper 40s then, and then heading out the door tomorrow morning, we're going to be waking up in those mid to upper 30s. 37 degrees is our forecast low temperature in Charlotte, but I do think we're going to be a little bit closer to that freezing mark right along, if not northwest of I-40, especially in our higher elevations. You'll wake up in the low 30s, but there's your high temperatures. Back in the mid 60s, Thursday, 66 degrees, our forecast high temperature. Still, we'll see a lot of sunshine tomorrow. It's just going to be a little breezy at times. Wind gusts picking up over 20 miles per hour. Friday, not as cold in the morning because we're going to start to see clouds move back in. Temperatures going to be bottoming out in the low 40s, mid 60s by the afternoon. should stay dry on Friday, most if not all the day. I do think by the late evening hours, our mountain communities could start to see some precipitation, some snow chances in the mountains overnight into early Saturday, with a 20% chance of a shower outside of the mountains early on Saturday morning. And then we're done with the precipitation chances. We just got cooler temperatures, about 10 degrees cooler by that point here Friday into Saturday. And then eventually we're going to see those temperatures topping out the low to mid 50s by Sunday afternoon. The cool down is brief, and it does take us back closer to normal. That average high temperature this time of year, 56 degrees. So we're above average right now. We're going to stay above average until this weekend, and then we're right back into the 60s, even the low to mid 60s, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday of next week. I want to show you the rain coverage, and I should say precipitation coverage here the next couple of days, since we do expect some of that snowfall in our higher elevations Friday into Saturday. But you'll notice where most of that precipitation stays confined. I mean, maybe we get a little precipitation along the I-40 corridor, but a lot of us are going to end up staying dry all the way through the end of the work week and heading into the weekend. So here's your holiday weekend forecast. And I've got President's Day on Monday, and we're expecting that isolated shower chance to start off the morning hours, high temperatures in the mid 50s, but then we cool off quickly back around freezing by the time you're heading out the door for that Sunday morning commute, or maybe you're going to be headed to breakfast or church plans. I would definitely grab the winter coat. 54 for that forecast high temperature. We'll see some morning clouds on Sunday, but as the day progresses and that system exits the area to the east, we'll actually end up with seeing more sunshine by the second half of your weekend forecast. So here's your 7-day. Of course, today we were nice and sunny and dry with high temperatures in the 60s. As we go from here, mid 60s Thursday and Friday, only chance of rain that we have within the forecast is on Saturday. So not a super impressive rain chance forecast for us here over the course of the 7-day forecast, but we've picked up enough rain. We are certainly running above average for this time of year. So we don't need any additional rainfall, and we just don't have any good chances for it within the 7-day. Cooler temperatures arrive by the weekend, and then especially the second half of the weekend for those morning hours. 32 on Sunday morning, 31 Monday morning, 34 degrees heading out the door Tuesday morning, with high temperatures rebounding back into the 60s by Monday and Tuesday of next week. John.
All right, thanks a lot, Rachel. Okay, we want to go back to this breaking news unfolding right now in Kansas City, Missouri, where we know multiple people have been injured at the Super Bowl parade after shots broke out there. This is video from the scene earlier, and you can see a lot of law enforcement on the scene. As it's been described, chaos, utter chaos there. As someone was saying, at least 1 million people lined the parade route for the Kansas City Chiefs as they were celebrating their Super Bowl win. As the festivities were ending right before 2 o'clock, which would have been right before 3 o'clock our time, shots broke out. Now, we do understand that 2 people armed were taken into custody by police. We do not know if those were the shooters or if indeed they were actually armed, but that is the report that's coming out of Kansas City right now. And again, I just want to let you know that a lot of this information is coming so quickly that sometimes it's interpreted one way and perhaps should be interpreted another way. But right now we can say that several people have been taken to hospitals in Kansas City. We do not know if they were actually shot or whether they may have been hurt in just the ensuing chaos that broke out once people heard shots being fired. We don't know that these people were fired at. Could have been shots fired into the air. It's just not exactly clear right now. Now, we've just been told that the Kansas City Police Department is expected to hold a news conference at any moment now to explain exactly what has been done and what they are doing and what they believe has happened out there. This took place at Union Station, which is there in downtown Kansas City. It's an iconic spot. It's a huge structure there. It was an old train station. It was refurbished. There are restaurants and shops and museums in there. It's just an exciting place to go for a lot of people. Anyone who ever visits Kansas City, that's one of the top spots that's visited by folks who go there. That parade started this morning around 11 o'clock, which would have been noon our time. It went down the Grand Boulevard, as it's called, and it came back to Union Station. And there's a huge parking deck there at Union Station as well. A lot of folks were in that parking deck looking out the sides and watching the festivities as they were going on. We are not certain right now, we've not been told one way or another whether there are any of the Kansas City Chiefs players or personnel there when these gunshots broke out. We do know that television stations in Kansas City were broadcasting live from the event there. Several of them were saying that they were told by police to get undercover to leave that area. People who were in that parking garage were told to evacuate the garage. So it's been, there's just been so much happening. They're still out there right now. It is a a huge area because of the wideness of the streets there and the areas where people were standing, people were sitting, people were watching the parade, and then of course they had a ceremony at the end of all that. So we don't know exactly where we are with the situation right now as far as whether these two people who were armed and apparently taken into custody. We do not know exactly what has happened with that, but what we want to do right now, let's tap back into our coverage, the coverage of KCTV. That's our sister station out in Kansas City. Let's hear what they're saying right now.
And now has turned into a day of tragedy. Shortly after the Kansas City Chiefs had just wound up their championship
they were
celebration
just
on
singing
stage.
and dancing on stage.
They had just wrapped up. The fans who were there, hundreds of thousands of fans who were there, had just started to begin to leave to when, as our Neil Jones reported, he was 35 yards away from the scene. He thought he heard a string of firecrackers, and then someone else said, no, that's gunshots. And he thought he heard anywhere from 15 to 20 gunshots, and then he saw people on the ground, he saw people running, he saw families screaming, kids crying, and then saw immediately first responders then who were performing CPR on at least 2 victims. Ambulances then rushed in. This then turned into a massive crime scene, and then to try and find whoever it was that fired the shots. 2 people have been apprehended. As many as 8 to 10 people have been shot. The victims have been taken to multiple hospitals, including Children's Mercy Hospital. So your heart just sinks when you hear that, because the last thing we want to hear is about young fans. So many children we had seen in this crowd watching their heroes, Travis Kelce, Patrick Mahomes, and to think that there is a young fan out there who is now being treated for possible wounds because of this, it's mind-numbing.
Yeah. Such a sour way to end such a celebratory day. We did talk to people just as they were trying to evacuate quickly. Here's what they had to say.
I was inside Union Station taking a pic right at the entry doors, taking a picture with a couple of the players, and then I just saw everybody start running. I didn't really, when you see a crowd running, you don't really ask questions, you just start running with them. And then as I was running, I heard a couple shots, and then kind of knew obviously it was serious, so just kept on running. And then we ran downstairs, ran probably 3 stories into the basement or so, into this room, and then they just sheltered us in place. And then we were down there probably, I have no concept of time, probably 30 minutes, an hour, and then someone came down and told us what was going on, told us that we're okay, but we can't leave just yet because everybody was flooding the streets, so the buses couldn't leave yet. And so we all just kind of sat there and waited until we finally got the okay to get going.
So that was the initial pops that you were talking about that led to the apprehension of potentially 2 shooters involved. But then there was a secondary situation that emerged just catty-corner to Union Station over at Weston Crown Center, where there was some sort of disturbance there, and they were also asking everyone in the West End then to shelter in place. That has since been cleared. Apparently completely unrelated issue, but very clearly a scary situation for everyone. The almost probably 1 million people converging on downtown for this victory celebration, and to try to get all of those people out of downtown quickly, not an easy task.
Utter chaos. Absolute utter chaos, and you could see it on people's faces. You could hear it in their voices. We've seen fans who were hugging, embracing, and crying after this, just glad that they had made it out of this thing unscathed. Now, we are waiting for Mayor Quentin Lucas and Kansas City, Missouri Police Chief Stacey Graves, who are going to be holding a news conference here momentarily to try and explain, to try and walk us through what has happened. So we are waiting for that to happen. They are staging that area right now. We have several crews obviously on the scene right now, so we will be bringing that to you just as soon as it happens. But we're just like you watching. We're waiting for answers like you are, and reporting on something like this so chaotic, so many different moving pieces. It's been. And the other thing about this, Carolyn, is how this happened. To go from something that was the culmination of such a joyous morning to then all of a sudden people are saying, wait a minute, is that fireworks or gunfire? And that was happening not all that far away from the stage where so many people were, and hundreds of thousands of people in that area.
Well, absolutely. Not to mention the players on the stage, the dignitaries on the stage. We're hearing now, we had heard from Missouri Governor Mike Parson. He, of course, took to the podium there momentarily to congratulate the Chiefs. He has since reported that he is okay. We've also now learned that Kansas Governor Laura Kelly was in attendance as well. She was told to evacuate, and she has now reported back that she is safely out of harm's way at this point. But many people around there, right in that area of the stage, when this initially occurred, again, just seconds before 2 o'clock hit, is when that gunfire was reported, and we have since learned 8 to 10 people have been hurt in some way in this shooting. That does not mean that they were all shot, but 8 to 10 people injured in some way during this disturbance. And sadly, we are hearing that some of the patients were taken to Children's Mercy, which confirms our biggest fear that there were children involved, but there were also patients taken to University Health, formerly Truman Medical Center, and St. Luke's Hospital as well.
All right, our Shane Kinnicky was talking with a couple of people who saw what happened and heard this.
So when I was leaving, and I don't remember if my other friends were still with me at the time because it kind of blurred. It did. But when we were heading west, trying to get back and away from it, we saw the police swarm a stairwell, and then we heard another pop from there. And that's when I was like, okay, we're gone.
Similar situation?
Same, yes. I was on the probably to her right. Probably on her right side when everything was going on. And then so we kind of circled back, but then all of the people in FBI and police, they were all like, okay, everybody has to go that way towards Crown Center. And so everybody started going that way, and then everybody's trying to come back because everybody's parked over here. And now that's a crime scene, we can't get in the parking garage. So everybody's
until it's cleared up
and stuck.
Because your cars are still in there as well.
And as we've mentioned, we had crews for the parade and for that.
All right, you've been listening in. They're on KCTV out in Kansas City, Missouri. Those were anchors Brad Stevens and Carolyn Long. They've been there. Brad Stevens has been there for many, many years. He knows that area as well as anyone. But that was KCTV reporting. And again, if you're just joining us, if you just tuned in, there were apparently shots fired at the end of the Kansas City Chiefs Super Bowl championship parade and festivities today in Kansas City, Missouri. And we understand 8 to 10 people were hurt. We're not sure exactly if all of them were either hit by gunfire, whether they were hurt in the ensuing chaos that broke out. Hundreds of thousands of people were in attendance at this celebration for the Kansas City Chiefs after winning the Super Bowl. This happened in the Union Station area of downtown Kansas City, and that's an iconic spot there in Kansas City. It's a huge area there where they have a lot of different celebrations throughout the year. Different things happen in that area there. Now, we are continuing to monitor the situation. We are working with KCTV as well as with CBS and other news sources, and we're going to be bringing you updates on air and online, so be sure to watch for new information. That'll be coming up live at 5 o'clock on WBTV. And we're just moments away from live at 5, and we're working on several things. I want you to take a look at this. Surveillance video from a Dollar General store in East Charlotte. Police are asking for help identifying the person behind this armed robbery. We're going to walk you through the incident, how the employee was able to handle the situation. Plus, a 17-year-old we first introduced you to a few months ago on QC Live turns into a viral sensation across the Queen City with his incredible drumming skills. His mission toward becoming Beats by JT. Stay with us. There is so much more to come live at 5 on WBTV. Thank you for watching this live streaming, and we hope you have a wonderful Valentine's Day.